In this video, we'll cover the most bonkiest, the most stunningest, the weapon that can KO almost everything overhead, Charge Blade, with Impact File. Nah, just kidding, this isn't for Ultimate. We're covering Hammer, everyone's favorite head-on-a-stick weapon. Let's get it. First up, General Controls and Guild Style. Before we get into the attacks, you should know that Hammer deals Impact, or Blunt type damage. Impact type damage doesn't let you sever tails, but instead deals exhaust damage with all attacks, as well as KO damage when you hit the monster's head. Basically, if you hear this sound effect, you're hitting the monster's head. Satisfying. This also means that you have a whole new set of hit zones to work with, so don't assume that because you hit the same spot with a cutting weapon, that you'll do the same damage with an impact weapon. From idle, press X to perform the Strong Pound, a straightforward smack that hits relatively hard for any first hit. Alternatively, press A, or the special attack button, to perform the Side Swing. This deals substantially less damage than the Strong Pound, but it provides you super armor for a short time afterwards, negating wind pressure and small hits. After either attack, press X to perform the Weak Pound, which looks like the Strong Pound, but deals much less damage. Press X one last time to perform the famous Golf Swing attack, dealing a whole bunch of damage. You should know that the Golf Swing attack does have a fairly specific hitbox, where it crosses diagonally from the hunter's bottom right to their upper left. Landing this attack is crucial, so work on your positioning, angling, and timing to land as many of these as possible. Your draw attack is the Draw Swing. It's a basic and quick attack that can be chained into either the Side Swing or the Strong Pound afterwards. Next up are the various charge attacks. Press and hold R to start charging, which drains stamina over time. You can start charging from idle, after a Side Swing, Weak Pound, Golf Swing, or after a forward or side roll, or from sheave of R, X, and A. You can cancel the charge by pressing B to roll. Unlike something like Greatsword or Bow, Hammer's level of charge determines what kinds of attacks come out when you release R. Release R before the first flash to perform Charge Level 1, Swipe. This is useful as a combo extender or reposition attack, since you can face in different angles or move in a direction by pressing in a direction and releasing R during the charge animation. Press X after this to perform the Draw Swing attack, therefore chaining into the rest of your combo. You can also shorten the combo by pressing A for Side Swing instead, saving a bit of time at the cost of damage. Release R after the first flash to perform Charge Level 2, Uppercut, that moves you in the direction you press, or immediately forward otherwise. Make sure your attack vectors are good for this. The uppercut's hitbox starts on your hunter's right side, so to be as accurate as possible, face to your left, if facing towards the monster, to use this attack. Otherwise, make sure you add a good distance to connect the uppercut. Too close and you'll end up in the monster's body, or worse, too far and you'll whiff. Press X after this, and you'll follow up with a Side Swing. Releasing R after the second flash will do different things depending on if you're idle or moving. Release while idle for the Charge Level 3, Overhead Smash. This attack is ideal for catching out head turns, or if you can't land a Golf Swing combo. Do note that this attack doesn't combo into anything, so you'll need to roll out of the end lag. Release R while moving instead, and you'll go into Charge Level 3, Top Spin. If you choose not to press X while spinning, you stumble while dealing an additional small final hit. This is extremely laggy, so don't forget to press X. Press X during the first 3 spins to perform the spinning hook attack, after which you can perform the Strong Pound afterwards with X. Press X during the last 2 spins to perform spinning Golf Swing, which works like the normal Golf Swing, but you can't combo into anything afterwards. There are practically zero use cases for the top spin nor any of its attacks. You're locked in for the entire time that you're spinning, so you can't just throw this out whenever without risking you getting hit in the process. Therefore, most of the time, this will be that attack that you accidentally go into whenever you mistime a Charge Level 2, panic, and then immediately try to get out of it by performing the spinning hook while praying that the monster doesn't hit you. If you're really stretching it, yeah, I guess this is for Elemental Hammer, but otherwise, don't bother. Whilst in midair, you can perform a Jumping Swing with X. This also acts as the first button in a grounded combo, linking to Weak Pound with X. If you started to charge before you jumped, you can instead release that charge midair to perform jumping charge attacks. Like their grounded versions, you can follow up with different attacks, depending on the base charge you release with. Jumping Charge level 1 follows up with Draw Swing. Jumping Charge level 2 follows up with the Uppercut. You can choose to move by pressing on the control stick as you do this attack. Jumping Charge level 3 follows up with the Spinning Golf Swing. And that's everything. To summarize, Hammer's main combos with X and A rely on longer windows, good positioning, and angles in order to land those sweet golf swings. If you just can't find the windows for those golf swing attacks, use your Charge level 1 or Charge level 2 as a gap closer, or set up for head turns with Charge level 3. Landing enough hits on a monster's head will eventually stun them, forcing them to sit there and eat your entire golf swing combo and more by extending your combo with Charge level 1, or simply finish off the combo with Charge level 3. If you know your monster down windows, you'll make the most of them with Hammer. There is a large caveat to playing Hammer that few people know about. Just because you can hit a monster's head doesn't mean you should always do so. Knowing this, and executing on it, separates the good Hammer users from the great Hammer users. If you want examples, think of monsters like Plesioth or Gravios, where their heads are really high off of the ground, making it difficult or outright impossible to KO them. Even less obviously is when a monster's head is risky to hit, or is a bad hit zone. Think of monsters such as Tigrex with its constant charge attacks for the former, or Duramboros' lower head hit zone and squishy hind legs for the latter. Always remember that hitting the good hit zones is always a priority, and the head isn't always the best hit zone to hit at every single moment. While we're talking about whether or not you should hit the head, I'm going to dispel the idea that Hammer users always go for the head. This is bullshit and reductive. Imagine if other Blade Masters were told to only go for the tail at all times because they were using any other weapon, even on something like Silver Rathalos or Yan Garuga. The number one strategy you use with all weapons is that you hit squishy spots hard. Anyone that tells you otherwise doesn't know jack, or solely plays in multiplayer. If you're in multiplayer, yeah, you should just spread out. If you want to go even further beyond as a pro Hammer user, keep in mind your KO and exhaust damage. Knowing when you can trigger stuns or exhaust flinches can turn a risky attack into full golf swing combos, really cutting down on those hunt times. Because of this, let's quickly talk about how KO or stun works in Monster Hunter. Hitting a monster anywhere on its body will build up exhaust damage, while hitting a monster's head, or head-related bits, such as horns, will also build up KO damage. Hit a monster's status threshold, and you'll trigger that status. In the case of KO damage, you'll make the monster see stars and make it struggle on the ground for a bit. Whereas with exhaust damage, you'll trigger a special exhaust stagger, draining the monster's stamina at the same time. Monsters will gradually recover from the status damage you've dealt to them at different rates, so you need to keep up the pressure in order to continuously apply KO and exhaust. Furthermore, every time you apply a status to a monster, their threshold increases by a given value, making it more difficult to keep locking down monsters. Basically, don't feel too bad if you can't land more than 3 or 4 KOs in an endgame hunt. I should also add that, rarely, monsters will take different amounts of KO damage depending on their KO hit zone, which you can view in Kiraniko. Rajang is an obvious standout because of his 50 KO hit zone, making him drastically harder to KO constantly. Yan Garuga and Zinogre are conversely weak to KO damage, given their values above 100 on their head. Alright, I've yammered on enough, so let's talk about some basic combos. The fundamental combo is Swing for the Fences, Strong Pound or Side Swing to start, then Weak Pound, and Golf Swing. If you have the window, extend the combo with a Charge level 1 swipe into a Draw Swing, then loop back to Strong Pound or Side Swing. The loop is a great downed combo, but getting to the Golf Swing by itself is great if you can find the windows for it. As for whether to use Strong Pound or Side Swing, the only real consideration, aside from hitboxes, is whether or not you need the super armor effect from Side Swing. If there's wind pressure or chip damage being tossed around, Side Swing. Otherwise, Strong Pound. Also, don't forget that you can reposition or change your angle with Charge level 1 swipe, so be proactive and adjust your position while you're comboing. If you need to gap close or poke, try starting with Uppercut, then launching into the normal combo. Do note that the Uppercut will always lead into the Side Swing, guaranteeing you super armor at the cost of damage. And that's it! Hammer is extremely straightforward. There isn't much combo variance, but your skill at Hammer is determined by what I mentioned before. Good timing, positioning, and stamina management will take you far on Hammer, not necessarily long and flashy combos. Let's wrap this section up with miscellaneous cool things about Hammer. The side swing gives super armor, but did you know that charging also grants you super armor? If a Yangaruga keeps flinching you with wind pressure, break through by simply charging up. Hammer is notorious for knocking other hunters around, especially with its charge attacks and golf swings. Try to stand away from other hunters, but if they're near a very juicy head and they just keep flinching you, I'm not gonna say that you should overhead smash, but maybe you might want to consider it if a side swing isn't cutting it? Or just, like, top spin? It might be the only use case for that move ever. Finally, a note about using Golf Swing. Hammer's combo inputs are somewhat tight, so if you take too long to input a Golf Swing, like if you're trying to time a Golf Swing to a monster's downed animation, you might need to delay your combo by just a tiny bit. Just keep that in mind if you feel like you're whiffing a few too many Golf Swings. Alright, it's Striker time. Striker Hammer has reduced charge thresholds, making it easier to get to charge level 3 at the cost of making charge level 2 harder to use. Your overhead smash also gets a slight increase in damage. Oh, and you just lose a tiny little thing called Golf Swing. Yeah, instead of a satisfying and big damage Golf Swing, it gets replaced by the Striker Power Pound. You also lose the ability to perform the spinning Golf Swing from the top spin, and trying to do so will make you do the spinning hook instead. Performing a jumping charge level 3, then pressing X will also link into an overhead smash instead of a Golf Swing. Overall, Striker Hammer focuses more on its charge attacks rather than its basic attacks. Let's swap to Aerial Style now. Aerial Style loses both the top swing and overhead smash, instead replacing your charge level 3 with a stronger aerial uppercut. Like the charge level 2 version, this uppercut also links into the side swing of X. In midair, you also gain the double down attack with A. If you connect with the first attack, you immediately perform another smack. But if you miss, you stumble when you hit the ground, locking you into end lag for a bit. If you do not connect with the second attack, then you don't stumble. Also, you can start to charge in midair if you feel like you can't safely perform an attack, or if you need to reposition quickly instead of attacking. It's Adept style time. Adept's charge level 1 and 2 are downgraded, level 1 preventing you from following up, while the level 2 is the normal swipe, which does allow you to follow up. Performing an Adept dodge and pressing X afterwards performs a swipe like the charged versions. Pressing and holding R instead allows you to perform a power charge with a shiny blue aura. Releasing immediately performs a power charge level 1, uppercut, which follows up with the same attacks as other uppercuts. Releasing after the first flash performs a power charge level 2, uppercut, which links to the weak pound with X afterwards. Power charge level 3, like the base charge level 3, changes depending on whether or not you move. Remain idle to perform the power overhead smash, a fancier overhead smash that deals more damage. Move instead and you perform the power rushing smash, which acts as a souped up uppercut, but you still can't follow up. The jumping variants do as you'd expect. Jumping power charge level 1 follows up with side swing. Level 2 follows up with the uppercut that leads into weak pound, and level 3 follows up with power overhead smash. Moving on to Valor style now. In any state, you cannot perform a golf swing, and you won't do anything if you try to do so, unlike Striker. Perform a Valor sheath, then press X to perform the Valor hook, which has a large amount of startup, but grants you a lot of gauge. Pressing A after a sheath performs a Valor side swing instead, which is the opposite. It's faster, but you charge the gauge less. Outside of Valor state, you cannot charge to level 3, and your charging speed is massively slowed down. You also cannot follow up after level 1's swipe. Inside of Valor state, you gain Valor dashes with B, and you can now change several charge attacks together. All of Valor's charge attacks have 2 charge levels, which perform different things per level of charge, and they also take longer to charge the further into the combo you get. So there's 6 attacks to talk about here. Valor's first charge level 1 works like a swipe, with the same follow-ups. Level 2 works like an uppercut, also with the same follow-ups. Valor's second charge level 1 is an uppercut, while level 2 is also an uppercut which links into weak pound. Valor third charge level 1 is a rushing smash, and level 2 is a power overhead smash. There's no moving or idle variants with Valor, just as a note. The jumping variants all link into draw swing. You should really just not use the normal follow-ups and focus on chaining charge attacks instead, however. A great trick that you might want to keep in mind is that if you input a dodge right as your hunter begins the charge animation for the second and third charge attacks, you'll dodge and retain the charge. Doing this will help you retain the number of charge attacks in your combo as you reposition. So, unlike some other Valor weapons, Valor Hammer is straightforward. It trades in the Golf Swing for an alternative combo method through charge attacks, making it suitable for monsters where you can't get off Golf Swing combos because the monster just won't stay still. The quantity of charge attacks in Valor make Hammer extremely mobile in this style, allowing you to weave in and out of attacks while holding your combo for long periods of time, rather than in short bursts with Golf Swing. You can sort of imagine it as a more realized Striker Hammer. Make sure to maintain your combo as much as you can in this style, and try not to lose it by dodging. Let's talk about some Valor combos now. There aren't really any good long Valor combos to charge up your Valor gauge, but if you need to gap close a bit, then try using a charge attack into a Valor Sheath based attack. Change up which Valor Sheath attack you're using based on the window, and whether or not you want to bet that the monster's head will be there by the time you swing. In Valor State, the one and only combo is the Valor Charge Chain. Use Valor First Charge, Valor Second Charge, and Valor Third Charge level 1. The levels for the first two charge attacks don't matter since you either hold the charge for good windows or let them go immediately on monster downs. The third charge though, level 2 only gains a bit more damage in exchange for a lengthy startup, which isn't always worth it. It's a good idea to close out a down window, but you really just want to use level 1 any other time. Back to Alchemy style. Alchemy prevents you from going into a charge from Golf Swing, preventing you from doing good down combos. It also removes the topspin, which is great, so you'll always perform an overhead smash from charge level 3. Like all Alchemy styles, you can pull out the Alchemy barrel with R and Y after any roll, forward or side. Overhead smash also fills the Alchemy gauge more quickly. Let's wrap up the styles with the style analysis. Hammer is remarkably well balanced across the styles, as there are no major issues with any of them. There are two standout styles among the cast, however. Guild and Valor. Guild embodies the perfect Hammer moveset, with the ability to continuously Golf Swing in tandem with the ability to perform uppercuts or overhead smashes freely, all along with 2 Hunter Art slots, perfect for Hammer. It's best suited for when monsters present clear Golf Swing combo opportunities. Valor trades Hammer's Golf Swing for the ability to chain together charge attacks, essentially trading a fast combo that needs to be done all at once for one that allows you to weave in and out of monster attacks at the cost of stamina. Since some monsters won't let you Golf Swing them all the time, swapping to Valor on monsters that do this may often be the solution. The 1 Hunter Art slot isn't that bad, since Hammer Hunter Arts aren't extremely important. One step down and we see Alchemy Hammer. The inability to combo from Golf Swing is only a slight inconvenience, as you can just side roll if you need to continue a combo anyway. However, the access to 3 Hunter Art slots on Hammer isn't nearly as important, due to Hammer's generally underwhelming Hunter Arts. But you can still run both Absolutes and Spinning Meteor if you need to. Also, Alchemy earplugs from the barrel are occasionally nice, since it allows you to ignore roars to fully connect the Golf Swing combo. One more step down and we find the rest of the Hammer styles. In no particular order, Adept Hammer's Golf Swing and the charge attack loop is slightly slower, due to the inability to follow up from the swipe. You also lose an HA slot, which is just kind of a bummer. The power charge attacks are fine, especially the level 3 power rushing smash, which works like a souped up uppercut. The main downside is that to perform any of the stronger adept attacks, you'll have to wait for a window after you've dodged, by which time the monster will probably be doing another attack. Don't fall into the trap of constantly adept dodging without attacking afterwards. Aerial Hammer isn't burdened by the typical aerial downside of having its strong attacks be locked behind the boost jump. In fact, you rarely have to boost jump in this style, instead opting for using the aerial uppercut from level 3. This is great because you don't have to precisely time a charge nearly as often. Also, your side rolls aren't the slower aerial hops, which is good. But you do still have to keep in mind that you are in fact aerial, and your forward rolls are aerial hops. If you do decide to boost jump on purpose, make sure that you're confident that you can land the aerial double down, else you'll stumble when you land on the ground. Really, this style is mostly burdened by the 1 Hunter Art slot and the inability to overhead smash on head turns, as well as the aerial hop. Otherwise, it still retains most of the same combos as Guild. Striker Hammer is certainly a thing. Natural focus is more of a downside than you'd expect, since it makes it more difficult to gap close with charge level 2 uppercut. It also loses the oh-so-satisfying golf swing for a relatively wimpy power pound. Instead, it puts all of this power behind the overhead smash, which asks that you position and predict monster head turns to make the most use out of it. The third Hunter Art slot is also just kinda there. Overall, this style is somewhat overshadowed by Alchemy and Valor, unless you really like the overhead smash gimmick. Right, now's the time for Hunter Arts. Spinning Meteor makes you spin your hammer to wind up for an extremely powerful smackdown. The last hit deals most of your damage, so make sure that you land it on the monster's head, or weak spot. This art's amount of windup depends on the rank, with higher ranks offering more damage, but also more startup. You may want to consider lowering the rank of this Hunter Art to match the down window of the particular monster you're fighting. Provoke is simple. You perform a quick uppercut with your hammer, then raise it into the air, which boosts your aggro draw while it's active. Different ranks also provide different buffs, with rank 2 increasing defense, and rank 3 increasing attack. You may ask, does rank 3 also provide a defense boost? And the answer is no. Capcom won't let you have any fun. For some odd reason, the aggro draw effect will stop early when you transition areas, but not the stat boost effect. I don't get it either. Typhoon Trigger makes you spin right round for a while, gradually charging up a powerful golf swing to finish it off. You need to press X to trigger the golf swing, or else you'll look really awkward while you stumble. Increasing ranks of Typhoon Trigger will allow you to charge up the golf swing to higher and higher levels. Make sure that if you're using a control type that uses a combo with X to use Hunter Arts, to assign Typhoon Trigger to not use X, since the game will make you uppercut instantly. Impact Press buffs you up over a lengthy time, after which your charge attacks all emit damaging shockwaves afterwards, dealing slight additional damage, KO, and exhaust. Note that, unlike Charge Blade's files, they will not stick to the point of impact, instead only affecting the area which your charge attack hit. Fortunately for you, they will connect with the head, even if you barely whiffed it. The amount of shockwaves that come after depend on the level of charge, gaining 1 shockwave per rank of charge. For something like Valor Hammer, this does mean that you'll only gain 1 or 2 shockwaves per charge attack. Increasing ranks increases the effect duration. Also, Typhoon Trigger does not gain shockwaves from Impact Press, and if you stumble from charge level 3 topspin, you also won't emit any shockwaves. Let's do some analysis now. Spinning Meteor is the most applicable of the Hammer Hunter Arts, since it offers some meaty damage dumping, which is perfect for some down windows. Do be aware of its lengthy end lag, which discourages hunters from just throwing this out willy-nilly. Furthermore, this Hunter Art isn't always taken, since the utility of having 2 absolutes can give you an edge in certain matchups. On 3 Hunter Art slot styles, however, this is always a pick. Impact Press's long buff animation can get you caught out sometimes, and the buff is fairly underwhelming. Even Valor style, which is built around spamming charge attacks, can gain more value from spinning Meteor over this. Despite these downsides, Impact Press is okay when you can safely use the buff, and if you can't position for some combo instead. For example, this is fine in multi-monster quests while you're waiting for the next monster to spawn, or if you're transitioning areas. Each shockwave can also help you get to the next KO, and they do magnetize the head hit zones. But since it doesn't stick to the monster's head, you can occasionally be disappointed. Especially if, for example, the monster's head is just barely off of the ground and you use an overhead smash. The shockwaves from Impact Press may not even connect with the head in this case, which kinda sucks. It's worth noting that this also slightly speeds up overhead smash animations by 5 frames. It probably won't matter for 99% of scenarios, but it's a nice thing to know about. Typhoon Trigger's fast charge time usually makes it be a brick most of the time. You may ask, why? It charges up fairly quickly, so you should be able to throw it out a lot. The answer is that it's still an attack Hunter Art, and it still takes a while to actually use. The short charge time doesn't actually matter in this case, since you'll end up holding it for a good window a lot of the time, rather than just tossing it out. In the time that you spend using this Hunter Art, you can save yourself the Hunter Art slot and just set up a normal golf swing combo instead. I mean, I guess at least it still does damage, and at the very least does something, unlike Provoke. Provoke is perhaps the most nothing burger of all the Hunter Arts. All of them, including the other weapons. Obviously, this doesn't do anything if you're soloing without palicos, and the minor stat boost is not worth using a valuable hunter art slot for. Even in situations where aggro matters, like in multiplayer, who can say how effective this aggro draw is? It could be as small as drawing 5 or 10% more aggro, as large as 100%, or it could even have some weird effect like always beat a target or gain aggro over time. If you want to flip that knowledge coin, go right ahead. But me? I'd rather just eat for Feline Provoker. Its effect doesn't wear off when you change areas, and it doesn't eat up a valuable hunter art slot. You know what time it is. It's progression time. On a high level, progression simply uses Petrified Hammer into Obsidian Hammer into Elder Hammer. Armor choices are similarly familiar. Bujabu into Rathalos Mix, into Rathalos Mix S, into Senator Cross. Yeah, this is pretty standard for Blade Masters. In low rank, you always start with the Petrified Hammer, which remains good through Village 4. The Iron Hammer is also a similar alternative, offering better sharpness at the same points through progression at the cost of a bit of attack. In particular, the Iron Hammer level 2 in Village 2 is the earliest and best method of accessing green sharpness. While you're there, don't forget about getting Bujabu. Village 3 just offers upgrades to the Petrified and Iron Hammer, as does Village 4. If you want to go on a side quest for some different armor, there's Senator armor, with Razor Sharp and Critical Eye. Village 5 switches it up by getting you access to the Spiked Hammer level 3, which has good raw and green sharpness. You also gain access to the Purity Hammer, Emerald Beater, and Giant's Hammer from the members of the Fated 4, all of which have good attack, sharpness, and a bit of element. There's also Rathalos' armor and Mixed available here, which you should focus on getting. Finally, Village 6 offers the Matraca Hammer from Seregius, a great mainstay with its roll to sharpness mechanic, providing easier sharpness maintenance. Glaveness also appears in Village 6 with its hammer, providing a good progression option for fire. Village 6 also offers more upgrades for the rest of the Fated 4 hammers. Village 7 offers upgrades for the Matraca Hammer, as well as the Scorching Ishita, Purity Hammer, Emerald Beater, and Giant's Hammer. Village 8 upgrades the Obsidian Hammer, which eclipses the Matraca Hammer through its attack power, and it also offers Senator S armor if you feel like you need it. Village 9 upgrades the Obsidian Hammer again if you go into Hub 6 and defeat the Hyper Monsters introduced there. The Scorching Ishita and the Plesioth Head are also your elemental tech choices, if you need them. Village 10 upgrades the Matraca Hammer into the Argil Hammer, while the Spiked Hammer gets upgraded into the Spiked Glory, which is particularly effective if you have Sharpness plus 1 or 2. Generally, you won't focus on getting that in progression, but if you're sticking around in high rank, then it may be worth looking into as a potential option for Deviants. If you're really fiending for elemental options, look into the Huracan Hammer, Plesioth Breaker, and the Bag of Thunder. For those clearing all of high rank after the Diablo's Urgent, a few new options open up. The Hellblade Hammer is the perennial, solid, all-rounder choice, with good attack and sharpness along with a bit of bonus blast. The Tigrex Hammer is a good choice for blast-resistant fights, or for getting to Hellblade in the first place. Don't forget the aforementioned Spiked Glory if you have sharpness plus 1 or plus 2. For longer fights, there's also the Silverwind Hammer, which trades a bit of attack and blast in exchange for sharpness. For armor, there's also Silver Soul from Silver Rathalos, or Hyasol if you're willing to do 100% low-rank village completion. G rank starts off with the Elder Hammer, as always. In G2, it gets upgraded to the Sage Hammer, which is also your anti-Lao choice. If you feel like you're just running short on damage, try swapping to the Pulse Crusher Core instead for a bit of extra dragon. You'll have to get a Worn Hammer first, though. Oh, before Lao Shenlong, grab Senator Cross early on in G2, and gem and Weakness Exploit on it. It'll be useful for other monsters, not Lao Shenlong though. Try making a specific armor set against them if you're having trouble. This set's got Dragon Attack, so if you're using the Sage Hammer instead, you'll want to nix that in favor of more damage, like Attack Ups or Critical Eye. In G3, the Discovery Hammer gains a smidge of purple, landing it here. It's also got 2 slots and a bit of extra affinity. The Glaveness' Uruga and Sinterhammer also get upgrades from their high rank form, making them worth it here. And finally in G4, your best general purpose hammer will be the Senator Chopper, which both has great attack at 330 and solid white sharpness. Before we talk about specific endgame recommendations, let's talk about the ideal hammer armor skills, and the signs of a good hammer. Before I start, I should probably emphasize that there is literally no reason to take KO King or Stamina Thief. In fact, you have negative reason to. KO King is only a 10% increase to your KO damage, and Stamina Thief is a measly plus 20% to exhaust. If you're really into the KOing shtick, first off, don't. Then eat for Feline Slugger. It also provides an additional 10% KO damage. And before you ask, no, it doesn't stack with KO King. First, you'll want to ask yourself, do I need earplugs in this matchup? Since Hammer is a combo-oriented weapon, ignoring loud roars of earplugs will help open up windows to land more golf swings or continue charge combos. This isn't always useful, however. Ask yourself if you can feasibly position and land a full golf swing combo during a monster's roar. A general rule of thumb is that if you can iframe the roar, or if there's enough time to land a golf swing after a monster's roar, then you shouldn't need to run earplugs. Also, I'll attach a community image that displays what monster roars need what level of earplugs in the description. It's even in a handy tier list format, because that's what the internet is nowadays. Oh, and obviously, if you're running Adept, there's much less of a need for earplugs. Afterwards, it's the standard stuff for Blade Masters. Pay your weapon sharpness tax if you need to, with sharpness plus 1 or 2, or razor sharp as appropriate. Then grab affinity boosters. The most common ones are weakness exploit, critical boost, challenger, and critical eye. Occasionally, you'll also need tech skills such as Tremorez for monsters such as Rajang and Deviljho, or Tropic Hunters when fighting in hot areas. Additionally, Valor Hammer can also run Quick Sheave on occasion. It helps with getting out their Valor hook attack on more windows more often. Now for hammers. You'll want to focus mainly on raw attack power due to Hammer's meaty hits and relatively low attack frequency. The elemental matchups are few and far between, and are reserved to the extremely sensitive matchups, such as the crabs, so elements isn't important here. That's not to say that a good hammer doesn't have any element at all, as we'll see, but generally great hammers have at least 320 attack. For those ever so rare elemental matchups, element should range from 30 to 50. In these cases, it's not uncommon to see hammers with as low as 310 attack. Anything less, and it's automatically sketchy. As for sharpness, it's fine for hammers to have a relatively thin amount of sharpness. Hammers with around 25 or 30 sharpness of at least white or ideally purple. You can check the exact sharpness amounts of hammers in Kiriniko by using an inspect element, then multiplying the pixels shown by 5. That's your amount. With their golf swings and generally heavy-hitting attacks, Hammer charges up absolute readiness fairly quickly, so Razor Sharp is generally not required except for specific cases, unless you're not running absolute readiness. Then you may want to seek out an option with higher sharpness, obviously. The typical best hammer is the Fatalis Destroyer from Crimson Fatalis. It needs sharpness plus 1 to get the purple sharpness, but it's got a solid 330 attack, blast, and triple slots, enough to brute force any sort of matchup you can imagine. Immediately running up is the Balat Gabal from Alchemy. It doesn't need as much sharpness, since it already has natural purple, but without blast, it is a smidge weaker. You can get more skills with the lack of sharpness maintenance, like more damage skills or earplugs. Also, because blast becomes less impactful on longer 1v1 matchups, such as EX Deviants, this also gains an edge over the Fatalis Destroyer. The one exception that I mentioned earlier is the Ausstrumsblick from Gormagala. Hope I pronounced that right. It's got a still great 320 attack, but it trades a slot and higher sharpness in exchange for a great plus 30% affinity to maximize that consistency that some people care a lot about. You'll need sharpness plus 2 for this, but you can use this for certain dragon matchups, or if you need to conveniently fit in earplugs as well. Another popular option is the classic. You know her well. It's Elderfrost Gamif's Elderfrost Grand Slam. You'll need sharpness plus 2 to get to the white sharpness, but it offers a massive 370 attack power to hit especially hard. You also have a little bit of ice, which can tilt the odds in its favor for those matchups. The Deviant boost isn't as impactful here, but it's nice to maintain absolute readiness uptime. A hammer that runs along similar lines is the Bone Crusher. Its attack is slightly lower than Elderfrost Grand Slam, but with sharpness plus 2 it gains purple sharpness, and it's got 2 slots on top of that. Those 2 slots can allow you to slot in more skills compared to the Grand Slam. Finally, if you can't or don't want to run absolute readiness, try considering the Rust Razor Smasher, from who else but Rust Razor Sainosaur. It's got plenty of white sharpness, freeing you to add on plenty of other armor skills as you'd like. Here comes the more niche elemental options. Shamash Starbuster from Silver Raphalos is a fine hammer that needs sharpness plus 2 to get to purple sharpness, but its 50 fire works wonders against monsters extremely weak to fire. The Enlightenment Hammer from Mizutsune hits hard against monsters weak to water, and has a slightly lower sharpness requirement of plus 1. For Thunder, you have two options. Kezu's Bag of Booms offers good attack and solid thunder with the cost of sharpness plus 2, or Zenogre's Oppressor Sway that trades a weensy bit of attack for higher thunder and slightly better sharpness. For the people that want to meme with status, here are your options. Poison is Yangaruga's Occult Fusion, which offers a potent array of stats with triple slots. Para is Volvidin's Armored Megagog, which has good attack but middling sharpness. And finally, Shadow Nerdirge from Nursilla is your sleep choice. It's got a naturally maxed sharpness gauge and some good natural affinity. Hammer in Generations Ultimate has always been a curious case to me. No one seems to talk about it as much as something like Charge Blade or Heavy Bowgun. I suppose this is in part due to my perspective, but also, Hammer is more middling in terms of power. Despite this, I think Hammer has the perfect moveset. It's got everything it could need, and one move that doesn't. Stupid topspin. And does it really need a numbers boost? The Golf Swing already hits for a mega meaty 90% of your attack. Oh, well, I suppose that Hammer does have some issues. Mainly that it requires you to be able to combo monsters, and not every monster will wait patiently for you to land a good Golf Swing. Because of this, it's less like Greatsword, which can use its charge attacks whenever it wants, and more like Charge Blade, which always has a fixed time to use an amped elemental discharge. You do have access to the charge attacks, which can alleviate the need to combo, but standing near the head will always be a dicey decision, regardless of weapon. Regardless, Hammer's selection of styles are remarkably well balanced in GU, offering a variety of interesting and decent playstyles while not sacrificing your firstborn in order to do so. There still is a level of power difference between the styles, but I don't think anyone will look at you weirdly if you choose to play Aerial Hammer. The arts though, yeesh. Spinning Meteor is a great art with its own place in Hammer, but as for Provoke, I'd rather use something else other than a costlier taunt. The other Hammer arts are just weird, man. Typhoon Trigger is awkward to just throw out randomly, and Impact Press takes too long to buff yourself. I guess they're at least usable if you want to play around with them. Zooming out, Hammer in GU is still as fun as its previous iterations, especially if you like hearing the funny sound effect that when you hit a monster's head, or getting satisfaction from landing a well-timed Golf Swing. So, when you get out there, be reassured that every monster will look like a nail that you can hammer.